I want to say, and we can segue into the day's presentation. I want to say that all the listeners should write down Black Christian codes, number one, Black codes, number two, Jim Crow, number three, and city ordinances, number four. Now, all of those are not black orientated or black definition, but each was used to degrade the indigenous people of the United States. Each. Now, I had a gentleman approached me last night in class and said that the Christian codes were for Christians that did not abide by the Bible, which is cool, But it was immediately changed because we were not Christians until that European showed up. Christians was hated. Hear me clear. Christians were hated all over the earth prior to coming into the United States. That's why they screamed for independence, because they was tired of, listen to this one, 1215, they were under, wow, it'll come to me. It will come, and they're still under it today. They're under a law today, and it was signed by the King of England back in 1215. And somebody's going to tell me what it is, but my mind just ain't clicked for it yet. But they were under this rule, and they hated it. No one on earth trusted them. They've always been treacherous. Their whole demeanor has been disruptive, just like it is today, okay? But once they got into the United States, they began to do things when they learned that it would be better to flip the script. And now we got more Christian churches in our communities than we have people. Then we have jobs. There you go. Then we have jobs. And it's sinful. It's really sinful because it puts you at a state. We'll do a show on it later. But it puts you in a state of nothingness, the land of Nod. You're doing nothing but praying and giving up your money. So I'll leave that alone. Y'all can deal with that any way you want to. But I'm telling you, Christians were hated. That's why you see movies when they were feeding them to the lions. That was not a lie. They were just ruthless. You couldn't do it. You couldn't build a nation. They didn't know peace. That's why they want Black America to stand up so they can bring peace on earth again. That's why all nations of the earth had a contract, a treaty with the Moors. Hear me carefully. And the first treaty was always called the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Always. And if you were a country and did not have a treaty of peace and friendship, you were not allowed to do nothing. You were shot on sight. They didn't give a damn about you. Because Christians could not be trusted. United States was the first country, better yet, the Moors were the Wachita Moors were the first country to recognize United States of America. Because we do not live in the United States of America. We live in the United States. They live in the United States of America. And it's so close in words and so close in definitions that people get confused. They can't even shake it out of their noggins, what I'm talking about. But you got to get it. Once you get it, you'll be free. Once you can understand that everything that they do is negative. I don't give a damn if they give you $1 million. It's negative. Because they're coming back and take $2 million for that $1 million they gave you. Everything they've taught you is a lie. Everything. I can't express it anymore. By getting loud ain't going to help. So I'm just going to calm down and tell you. And if you don't understand it, you'll be in bondage for the rest of your life. So, that charter, there it is, charter of 1215. Come on, Bev, help me. I can't think of it. But anyway, we got the 4 different processes that the Europeans use. And they'll scream that it's not racist. And they'll to scream that it's not anything wrong with it because they put it on everyone. But due to privileges and benefits, remember this, privileges and benefits, once they use that in this process, they can earmark all of their negativity to Black America. And that's what they did. They switched it over, made us Christians, and then they turned around and had codes for what the Christian could and could not do. And I know you know that you were not allowed to read, you were not allowed to assemble. At night, you had to have a lantern if there was more than one of you walking in the streets. It goes on and on. You need to look up these things. You need to look them up. And then when they got into the 19th century, where they knew they were having trouble because Black people began to wake up, they said that they called it city ordinances. And it's no coincidence, babe. I don't know if you ever had to go pay a ticket, but if you ever had to go down there on 421 Madison at 36th District Court to pay a ticket, go to court.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a fourth casino.
Yeah.
There's so many people wrapped around that place, and 99.9% are Black folks.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Now, you telling me white folks drive better than Black folks? No. They use privileges and they use benefits. They give white people a pass. Not all of them, but 90% of them they give a pass. And another thing, in suburban courts, when you go to traffic in suburban courts, 85% of all the recipients of tickets are Black. And the community could be 85% white. Why? Yeah. Because we have to travel through there. And every time a police officer sees a Blackie, he screams him. He screams him, I'm telling you. And once they do that, that's why their courts are loaded with Black people. But nobody brings this type of thing up. They don't bring it to the forefront. So people just sit around and say, well, they shouldn't drive fast. Oh, they go crazy. Christian approach. They should drive safe. I drive safe. I don't get a ticket. They should drive safe. All that kind of madness. And I caught one of them running that same rap, and come to find out, he had a Bible, Beverly. He had a Bible on his dashboard. Now I know y'all out there, especially y'all out there in that Bible belt. Ask them why do they put a Bible on their dashboard. Have you ever seen that, Beverly?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right. And they put a Bible on there. Ain't no telling what they're allowed to tell you, but I'm going to tell you why they put a Bible. Because once that police officer walks up and sees that Bible, they will get a pass. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Because Christians, they know how to handle Christians. That's why they promote Christianity in the Black communities. That's why you got so many Black preachers on television screaming. You got all these big churches. The system supports Christianity. If all you Negroes would be Christians, they wouldn't have any problem. Because what would Jesus do in a situation like this? So let's not get on that. But anyway, let's get back to this city ordinance. Now, let's go into the 1900s. We're coming out of the 1900s. We're getting close to 1920s. Now, Beth, last week somebody asked about the duck. I don't know if he said duck hunt or duck riot. Do you recall that conversation?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What did he call that? I know it was a duck something.
I know it was a duck, too. I don't know if he said duck riot.
Anyway, I did research, and I found out that the duck hunt was a slogan that was used in 1913 because the crooks that set up the Federal Reserve Bank, and I mean crooks, they were not trusted anywhere on earth, but they were super rich, and there was about 13 of them. And they all had a code. They all signed up to go under their first name. They never used their last names. And they said that they were going duck hunting. That's how they was trying to keep the news media calm or away from them. And as a result, they went to this duck hunt, and that's when they put together the so-called Federal Reserve. And once they did that, it was so corrupt and so lucrative for the crooks. They couldn't believe that the government of the United States, 99.9% white boys, would even pass it. That show you how ignorant and stupid the government was. They not only did they pass it, they gave them permission to make money because they didn't have money to pay the debt. Now, in order for us to be in the situation that we're in, we need to know that in 1663, and they set up this process known as the Siskiyou account. We've talked about that.
Right.
They put out the definition or an explanation that they're not going to take your property forever. They're not going to keep the trust away from you forever, but they're going to declare everyone on earth dead. I don't know if I told you this, Beth.
Yeah, you told us.
And then they added a clause that once you become alive and come and ask for your wealth, we'll give it to you. Now, they knew that they had to create debt in order to control the country. So when the United States was set up, they created the Revolutionary War. They funded both sides. There was a decision that George Washington and, better yet, because the president at the time was a black man named John Hanson, they had to have a meeting. Now, the black man was not invited to the meeting because the whiteys were Masons at the time, and the blackies were Moors. The Moors had the knowledge, and the Masons had to be, what would you call it, degreed into the knowledge. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. So what they did, George Washington called a private meeting after the war was over. No, it wasn't over. Before they started the war, after they signed the Declaration of Independence, they called a meeting with the with the Masons. And in this meeting, they had two items on the agenda. Number one, how were they going to fight and win the war against Britain, England? And two, how were they going to rid the country? This is terrible. How were they going to rid the country and steal the birthright of the Moors? Well, the first one they did in a joint effort with blacks, because blacks fought in the Revolutionary War, and it was set up and controlled by the president at that time, which was John Hanson. But the second item, they swore an oath to rid the country of the black birthright, and then raise them in through education to be slaves. And the first process on the agenda was to demoralize them by not recognizing who they are, not letting them come into the new United States with those Moorish names, take the flag away from them. Now you got to visualize this in your mind, because we're talking about 10 square miles versus 80 million square miles that the Moors had. So the Europeans was only given 10 square miles. So they set up rules inside of the 10 square miles, which nobody gave a damn about. They do that type of thing now. But once it starts spreading across the country, as they've done today, the rules stay the same. And the education was set up that all blackies must go to school. And somebody should ask the question, why is it that urban public education in America is the only ones that have problems? Peckerwoods never complain. They never march in the street. There's something wrong with the education. No. But it's always blackies. Because, number one, we don't have a nationality. And number two, our children have to adjust to the malarkey. I'll call it malarkey rather than use the other BS. But they have to adjust. So, as a result of that, we have lost all of our identity. And we were born, most of us were born in it, not most, all of us were born into this new process. Now, if you think that's far-fetched, and this will really shake you, when Obama was elected a president, those peckerwoods in Washington had a second meeting, as George Washington did. And y'all know it. And nobody said anything because you didn't know about the first meeting. What did they say in the second meeting, Beth? We will not let that Negro pass any bills. Anything he comes up with, we're gonna deny it. Anything we can blame on him, we're gonna blame on him. And that was an election ago, 4 years ago, and now he's in the second election, and they still got the same process on. And they said in the article that I read on George Washington, they all signed in blood, swore to uphold it. And they did it again.
Well, that seems to be their motto, because I heard that when you get to a certain level in the Masonry, that's what they have to pledge, that they make sure that black Moor never rises.
You know, you're totally correct. But in order to get the knowledge, this will really rock you. In order to get the knowledge, which would be the highest knowledge, which would be 33 and a third degree, they don't like to talk about that. Mm-hmm. In order to get that, you must know who created you, who was your creator. And this is why what you're saying is true, because none of them want to know that the black man is their creator.
Yeah.
So they stop at 32, and then they do a Shriner type thing. That's where the Shriners come in at 32. And they kind of sidestep the 33, and they have secret upon secret meetings, and they tell them verbally what the 33rd degree is, but they don't have to swear to uphold it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And
because once you get that last degree, go ahead. Once you get that last degree, they have 3 ways for you to go, for you to graduate. I'm saying it right. There's 3 ways that you can take. Once we give you this information, there's only 3 ways you can get out of it. Number 1, and they got a big old blackie, but it would probably be a white, with a big, very big sword, and he says, we'll chop your head off. Number 2, you'll drink this poison. Or number 3, you can hang yourself. That's the only way you can get out of honoring the 33rd degree. And none of them want to go that far, so they stop. Now, there have been a few, and if I say 500, that would be a good number, that went to the 33rd degree. I think I'm not going to stick my neck out, but I heard that it was either Nixon. Nixon was a 33rd degree, but I'm not sure. But most of them are not, let's put it that way. Most of them are not. Now, that big Ku Klux Klaner, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. I'm looking at him, and I'm trying to call his name. He was a 33rd degree. He founded the Ku Klux Klan, and they have a statue in Washington of him. Whoa, my mind is shocked, Bev, because you can see why I was late today. I did not lost everything.
Right. Well,
all right.
If someone in the chat room know who you're talking about, they can post it.
Okay. Tell me, what did he post?
No, I said if they know, they can. I'm telling them to post it, and then I'll say it. Yes,
okay. Because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and I can get it if they want to know. I can really get it, but I just can't think of it right now. Okay, now we're moving forward, coming out of the 12s and the 13s. Now I told you last week that the NAACP was founded because they had to find out a way, since blacks were coming north in such a large number during the so-called industrial period. And then the United States fooled around and got involved in World War I. That meant that the jobs were opening for workers to come. So blackies down in the South was migrating north, and they were getting these jobs. So that's why they had the Red Summer in 1919, because when the war was over, these whiteys came back and took the jobs away from the black folks. But,
now, Ron, someone is asking, is it Albert Pike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And tell him I thank him. I couldn't remember.
Okay.
Albert Pike. Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you, listener.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Now, so here we go with that NAACP. They tried to do it a black on black. It didn't work. That was called the Niagara movement. But then these Spingard brothers, a lot of people don't know that the NAACP, as you know it, was founded by two Peckerwood, two white boys. They were called the Spingard brothers. Spingard. That's the highest award you get for being a good Negro. They give you the Spingard Award. And so they came back in 1907, and they were victorious in founding it. But then they wanted to use it as a spy network because they wanted to get to the preachers and have the preachers turn in names of not undesirables, but big mouths. I would have been on that list. My daddy would have been on that list. To turn into the Spingard brothers so they could do a type of FBI search to keep track of them. Well, a lot of blackies realized that they was up the creek without a paddle. And I believe, as they said, Martin Luther King's grandfather was one of them that told him to go to hell. And he left, and the others I don't know about. But you know the ones that stayed, W.B. Du Bois and Booker T, and there's several of them. You can look it up. But now, since they had to spy on their own people, they wanted to be rewarded. So they told the Europeans, y'all got to give us something. We're tired of these crumbs because we're not looking good in our communities. So the Europeans said, well, what we'll do, we'll give you newspapers, because most of them had education. So all of your black newspapers were founded in anywhere between 1915 and 1925. The Pittsburgh Courier, the I can't call them all, Amsterdam News, all those black newspapers. There were several of them at one time. And they were all founded and they were owned and operated by blackies. Then when Marcus Garvey popped up, European knew he had a problem. So he was sending some of his agents in to spy on Marcus Garvey, trying to get information on him so they could stop the movement. But today, Marcus Garvey has had the largest organization in the independent organization in the history of Earth. They said one time there was over 7 million members to Marcus Garvey's organization. And Noble Drew Ali was one of the founders of the Marcus Garvey operation. He was one that worked close with Marcus Garvey. He was to Marcus Garvey as Malcolm was to Elijah Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
But can you hold 1 second? Can I put you on?
Yes. And so, again, you're listening to the Truth to Power show with WWII and Ron March. Ron March is giving us the real history from the 1900s to up until 1956. Also, I have some links in the chat room where you can see what is going on in Detroit with the water. What he is explaining to us that has went on back in the day is still going on today. And so it's nothing changed, just the people changed, the faith changed, but the system, the way that they are operating is the same as they were back in the 1700s, 1600s. And so the game plan is the same. And so we have a better understanding of what is going on here. So it kind of feels like that we were in a dark room, and we were just feeling our way through. We were stumbling, but now the light has been turned on, and so we're not going to stumble and fall like we once have because we can see. Ron, are you back? Okay. Are you back, Ron March?
Yes. I'm sorry, Beth.
Okay.
Woo. That was your friend and mine.
Okay.
Miss Clay. All right. I'm telling you there?
Yeah, we here.
All right. Now, this is about the most piecemeal show I've ever done. But anyway, let's go with it. So now we're talking about the blacks. They sick the blacks on the blacks. One of the biggest conflicts started when they sicked the talented 10th. They sicked him on Marcus Garvey and his operations. They used the newspapers to rip Marcus Garvey. They called him the Black Gorilla. And it was real ugly and real nasty, but it didn't stop him. It probably boosted his claims because lynching was real high during that period of time. And the blackies, as they are today, they didn't want to talk about it. So we got all these blackies today as we are reliving our history since we didn't want to know anything about it, that refuse to bring up the plight of black America. They leave it to these either Negro pundits or white folks to tell us what we should and shouldn't do, as we just talked about Detroit. But they had the same problem back in the day. Well, meanwhile, the debt was getting bigger and bigger for the United States. And economically, when I do my lecture on the 19th of September, I'm going to talk about that debt and how it came about. But I'm going to say right now, to keep everybody on target, have you ever played the game Pollyanny? I call it Pollyanny, but they call it, y'all call it, the game that you play with play money. What they call it, Biff?
Monopoly?
Monopoly, yes. I don't know why I keep saying Pollyanny, but Monopoly. All right, there's play money. When the United States and the cronies, realizing that the debt was huge and the United States was trying to reorganize themselves with that new government in 1871 when they created the United States of America, Inc., England and the Pope helped them organize that because that was a new avenue for payment on the play money that was used in all the wars prior to 1871. The Revolutionary War, there was not enough money for the United States, so they used play money to England, which was IOUs. When England gave them the money to fight, when it came time to pay it back, they didn't have it. So they came up with an idea. They had a couple of national banks. None of them really worked out well until England started the big one with Thomas Jefferson. I think it was in 1825, somewhere back there. And they set it up in a process that they would take IOUs when payments were due. So now all they had to do was keep wars going. So now as you come out of 1825 and go into 1865, when Lincoln said, damn those IOUs, we're going to go to our local banks, take the real money, gold and silver, and we're going to pay off the debt. Well, you know what happened to him. Bang, they shot him. They don't want the debt to be paid off, and they want it to grow so that we will stay slaves. Debt is a slave process. Debt is a slave process. That's why everybody listening to me is in debt. And you were born in debt. You grew up in debt, and you're going to die in debt if you don't get your head on right.
So this, what you just said, explains why we are over in the Middle East, why it's always a constant war that's going on.
Yes, because they have to create debt. They have to create debt. And then they make it look like they're concerned by they say you're blowing the budget. Or they say to Obama, of all people, that you are spending crazy and we're going to impeach you and all of that madness. And he knows, like everybody else knows, up there, not me, but up, not us, but them, they know that country cannot run unless it is ran on debt. Right. Now, as we come out of that, there was this brother, Noble Drew Ali, the earth, now keep in mind the earth is looking at all of this madness, and the earth is very, very upset.
Yeah.
And also remember that the earth has been black for hundreds and thousands of years. The European was a Johnny-come-lately. All of the early organizations were owned and controlled by people of color. The United Nations was a mimic of the League of Nations, which was all black. Let me not say black, all of color.
Right.
And so when they realized, these people of color realized that they tired of these Europeans, the earth has hated Europeans. They've hated them. Y'all got to get that in your head. They hate them because they know they're up to no good. They know they're up to no good. So what they did, the Europeans set up mimic organizations to mirror the real organizations. So the United Nations was put in place as the League of Nations begin to wear down or become dormant. Put it that way. So here we go. In 1928, it was set up for the Pan American Conference. They were having Pan American conferences every year, every several years in this Western Hemisphere. And it was only for indigenous people of the earth. Remember that. It was only set up, Pan-Americanism was only set up for indigenous people of color.
Okay.
Now, when they had the big one in 1928, I don't know how they found out, but the Europeans found out that Noble Drew Ali was invited for United States. Not United States of America, but for United States. And he went down to Havana, Cuba. And I always say this is why they hate Castro today, because they dealt with communism forever. I don't know, they talk about he's a communist. Oh, who gives a damn? They have dealt with communism all over the earth, but all of a sudden, in my lifetime, they fight and hated Fidel Castro for no explanation to me. So the bottom line was, when they went down there in 1928, in that meeting, there was a mandate. It's my grandson. There was a mandate. There was a mandate set up, and which is known as an allodial title. And they gave that allodial title to Noble Drew Ali, which meant that he owned all the land from Alaska to Argentina. And he immediately assigned over all of the lands to where they're supposed to be. And the United States was so upset that they sent the Secretary of State down there to represent the United States. But they all knew that the European could not represent the United States because the United States was indigenous people. So they told you to get lost. And they are very upset about the whole package. But that, you can look that up. That was really happening.
So I wonder why that this is not put in the history books.
Because, listen to how I worded that. It was a meeting for indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. And they invited Noble Drew Ali because he was a leader or person of color in United States, not United States of America, in the United States. So when the United States went down there and they were not invited, they stayed and did what they could do, and then they wrote the minutes and they doctored the minutes. Now, Noble Drew Ali's name is not in Noble Drew Ali's name is not in the minutes because he is not a citizen of the United States of America. They only wrote it with his story. You know how they do it. They wrote it with his story. And as they did that, they left his name out. They even put in another name of Noble, somebody named Noble something, but it was never Noble Drew Ali. Get on the porch. Okay? So that's why he's not in there. Because I got the minutes to that meeting, and Noble Drew Ali's name is not in it. Okay?
Okay.
Yep. Now, the United States, knowing that the earth and land is the key to power, black folks never learned it because they were never taught. Most black people don't care about land. Most black people say, I own a house and I got a yard, they think that's land. It's not. All the earth has land, and all nationalities are appointed to a land by their creator. So, French got France, that type of thing. Now, we set it up. We're the creators of Europe, so we set that up for them to go in there and do what they do in Europe. And notice how the land of England is a rock. But they're one of the richest countries on earth. Nobody ever questions that. They didn't go to the moon. They don't get in wars and send troops all over the earth. They don't come up with big planes, spy planes, and all that kind of crap. You dig? And nobody questions. None of the news writes about it, so nobody asks that question. Japan is another one. But since Japan is so smart and they are of color, they had the big war on Japan, dropped that atomic bomb on Japan, and now the United States is the overseer of Japan, which means Japan is the only country on earth with a nationality and don't have an army. Nobody ever mentions that. You ain't never heard them talk about Japanese troops, other than World War II, but after they dropped that atomic bomb, no.
Well, who is that they saying that's over, have ships over in Hawaii? Is that China?
What year? Now?
I'm talking about now.
They have ships in Hawaii. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, okay.
Is it? Are you talking about warships, or are you just talking about ships in general?
No, I guess they're talking about warships.
No. Hawaii is one of the most privileged countries on earth because they told the United States to go to hell. They don't want to be a part of the United States. So the whole earth recognize and honor them for telling the United States to kiss it where the sun don't shine. Alaska is another country that's of color. People don't realize that. They brought that damn paling out of there and they think everybody up there is white. No. 90% of Alaska are people of color. They told the United States, get lost. Get out of here. And they are honored around the world. So we really got 48 states if you want to get technical. But they don't ever want to talk about it because they don't want you to know of their defeats. You dig it? And another thing, Beth, you don't hear any arguments lately about Puerto Rico. During the Nixon administration, I think they tried to kill Nixon because they didn't want to be a part of the United States. But lately you haven't heard about it because United Nations sanctioned United States and told them they were treating people of color, me and you, so bad that they're going to punish them. They put sanctions on the United States and took those territories away from the United States. Samoa, Puerto Rico, I think it's 5 of them. They took them away. They never talk about them anymore. They put them in the books here in America, but the earth, no. The earth is upset, mad, hate the whole process of England, the Pope, and the United States. That's why they had to put a blackie in as president, because the whiteys will get shot on sight if they go overseas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially after that cowboy that was in there, Bush.
Bush, yes. And Bush tried to act like he was doing some world travel, but they said he was in Hollywood with props. He didn't do no world travel. He was right in the country because they got a indictment out on him. If he goes too far, they gonna snatch his butt and put him in jail for war crime.
And Cheney too.
Yes. Now let me tell you what happened after WWII got back. First thing he did, he went to Chicago and recorded the deed of land all the way. It's still there. I got a copy of it. It's still there. Number 2, the Europeans realizing that they gonna have a problem. They had to come up with another meeting that's going to do something to save the European and keep him in a positive position on earth, a leadership position. So they set up what is known today as the Geneva Conventions. There were 5 of them. Let me count them back. 32, 31, 30, 29, 28. So in 1928, after he came back, the Europeans started having meetings of the Geneva Convention as to what they were going to do with the decision that the land does not belong to them, which means, Bev, that the gold, silver, and everything is in the earth. That's why Europeans come up with all these certificates. They cannot own anything. That's why they got certificate of title. And they took the word allodial out of all the books. It's difficult to even find a good definition of allodial title because they don't want you to know about it. I got a allodial title on 2 of my properties, but when they found out what we were doing in Detroit, dropping them allodial titles, they shut the whole building down and told everybody, do not, under any circumstance, take any paperwork. I'm going to word it in my own words. Anyone that, any blackie that talks strange and intelligent and know what he's about, screen his paperwork, and if it's not on this list, do not take it. And they told that to all the blackies, because that's all you got down there is blackies. And they're all ignorant to what's going on, so you ain't no sense of arguing with them. But I always go and tell them send your supervisor out. And I had to do that twice to get to a peck of wood, and then I begin to rip that peck of wood. And they stand there and look at you like a damn monkey, and they'll say, we're not prepared to accept your paperwork at this time. Now, they have to say it that way because if you look up a register of deeds, where could you find this? Register of deeds, it should be in the Uniform Commercial Code, but the Register of Deeds must, M-U-S-T, must take any paperwork and have it recorded. They are not allowed to reject it. But they use the words, we're not rejecting it, but we're not allowed we're not prepared to have it recorded at this time. And they say it like they're reading it off a piece of paper. So they get out of it. So they had 5 meetings, and in this meeting, the only thing that came out of it was United States and all the European nations filed bankruptcy. United States and all the European nations filed bankruptcy. And they used Franklin Delano Roosevelt as the example as to how to do it and how to set it up. So Franklin Roosevelt was elected, and he had to come up with a man-made bankruptcy so he could cover his tracks and make it look like what he was doing was not what he was doing. Going back again to Adam Wasinoff, he must use hallucinations. So what he did, he came back, he filed bankruptcy. The banks began to pile in all their debt. People started committing suicide. If you look up the rate of suicide during the early 30s, United States had more suicides than all people on earth put together. They said they were walking down the street just dropping. They were so depressed, they just dropped in the middle of the street. They had to drag them off because they were dying so fast. Black people were boogalooing. They were partying down. And that upset the Europeans very much because the whiteys wanted to know why the blackies wasn't doing it. Remember I told you there's a twofold battle going here. They got to keep black folks, racism against black people must stay in place. And at the same time, they can't tell the white people what they're doing, but let them think that they're better than black people. So what they did, they came up with the Department of Entertainment, and the federal government funded those big movies. Anybody that doubt it, just go and look up any movie that was made in the 30s between 1933 and 1939, and look at all the money that was spent on those movies with glamour, dancing, and all the blackies that were in it were boot blacks, shining, dancing, and acting like a buffoon, step and fetch it, and all that kind of stuff. They had to brainwash white people to let them know, stop killing yourself because your condition is bad, but it ain't as bad as them Negroes. and it worked. It slowed it down. It didn't work. But anyway, we're in the 30s, and we got this cat making these new rules and regulations, setting up a new government. And we talking about Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he had to do it, and he had to bring troops in because white people that were smart enough to see that he was a crook, they were attacking him. So what he had to do, first thing he had to do, he called in the Supreme Court at a closed door session, and he told them what was coming down the pike, and made them agree. And I'll just say it that way. And then the Supreme Court called in the judges. They got the circuit judges and they got the district, all that kind of crap, called them in, told them of the plan. And those that didn't agree, they got rid of, and those that did agree, they rewarded them. Now the next step was to call in, the judges said that we cannot do this unless the lawyers agree. And they said, well, we will set up an American bar. See, the original bar is from England, but the subsidiary bar is set up in the United States. So I guess they have to pass two tests. I'm not sure about this, but they have to pass the original bar, and then they have to pass their state bar. That's what it is, state bar. They have to pass their state bar. And all of them are set up to cheat the people. And they were all set up not to use laws that were, they used a cutoff date, 1930, I want to say 8, but I'm not sure. Any law that was passed, any president that was passed prior to 1938, they're not allowed to bring it in the courts. That's how they get around common law. That's how they get around what they call statutes of law. See, a statute of law is the oldest law of the land, and it's a direct reflection of the original Constitution. They call it statutes at large. They don't want to talk about that. They also have another term called stare decisis. I think I tried to spell it for you one day. Couldn't spell it. But anyway, it's called stare decisis. And that means that statute has been tried once, tried twice, and tried again. And it can never, ever be changed. And it also is a direct reflection of the original Constitution. So they know that they cannot win any case in their courts if they recognize the Constitution of the United States. So they all agreed not to recognize it. So here you come in there talking about I got my constitutional rights. And they look at you and say, if you bring that Constitution up one more time, I'm going to hold you in contempt.
Now the attorneys can't do that because they're part of the Bar Association. But as an individual, can they go in there and use this because they're not part of the Bar Association? Yes.
However, if the judge is cunning enough, which they all are, they've been trained, especially today they've been trained because of white supremacy, white sovereignty, which is called title sovereign. And blacks are waking up by the thousands.
Right.
They know they have to recognize it, but they have the ruling from the bar. You don't have to recognize it because you are a fictitious court anyway. We set you up just to go through, listen to this, city ordinances, black codes, Christian black codes, all of those four that I gave you in the beginning, all the judges recognizes that. So you can tell them to go to hell. And here's what they tell you. I'm going to give you my ruling, young lady, and if you don't like it, you can appeal it. Now, she didn't refuse. She just said, I'm going to give you my ruling. You can appeal it. Now, the problem with that is if you file in 36th District, the low court, it's going to cost you $100. Let's put it that way. If you're going to do it as what they call improprio persona, what you just said, that's called improprio persona, which means you're going to try your own case. If that judge tells you to appeal it, now it's going to cost $350. That judge is just as crooked as the first judge. Now when you appeal it to the circuit or the appellate court, it's going to cost $400 and something dollars, 75 I think it is now, $475. You ain't for a traffic ticket. You don't want to go that far. You can't pay that kind of money. This is why I was told yesterday. I got a phone call from a heavy brother down in the Carolinas. He said, Ron, if you get a traffic ticket and you want to win, you got to go straight to federal court and sue from federal court. Because all they're going to do in the lower courts is play games with you. And a lot of people are not aware, because I've been to court about 3 times, and I'm telling you, my knees was round as big as my mouth is, and all I know, it's intimidating when you get up there in front of that that punk, and they sitting up high with a robe, and they got this on this side, the prosecutor. All of that was set up for intimidation. Right. You got to be a real pro to outwit them. And I've seen some of them. I know this lady, a queen, I don't know her, but I've seen her CDs. She's so heavy when the judge sees her, he tells everybody, clear the court. Yeah. But they don't want you to know what they know. Yeah. And so I haven't got that good yet, but I know the guy that passed, Bobby L. Anytime you walk in the courtroom, the judge stopped the whole proceedings and say, "Oh, Mr. Bobby L., how are you today? What can I?" And he's talking from the bench. What can I do for you? He's in the midst of a trial or a hearing, not a trial per se. And Bobby would probably still sit down and don't say nothing, and then the judge gonna say, "Well, we got to clear the court," because they don't want the court to know what Bobby gonna say. Because the judge will have a terrible day and cannot raise revenue if Ron March goes first, and I'm going to bark. I may lose, but everybody behind me going to bark the same way. And the courts know that. So we're in the 30s.
Someone in the chat room is saying that ordinance, codes, and statutes are not laws.
They're not lawful. They are legal. You tell that person they are legal, and he has to know, that person has to know the difference between lawful and legal. Anything that comes from the corporations, all of those, I'm glad they brought it up. All of those statutes in ordinances and back codes, all of those so-called items in those particular races processes are all dictated from the corporations. And they are legal because the corporations agreed to put it in there. That's what makes it legal. Okay. But
there's a difference between legal and lawful.
Yes, ma'am. A huge. Legal, this is another thing. Have everybody look up color of law, just like I said it. COLOROFLAW. Color of law. You're going to be shocked. It's in the dictionary. And it means it's legal, and it looks like lawful, but it ain't. And all judges and lawyers are legal. They all know they're legal. And they don't have any shame in their game, because the judges is always on the side of the attorney unless the attorney is a nitwit. Yes, and if the attorney gets up there and make a procedural mistake, the judge is going to throw him to the wolves. Yes, because I've seen that. So anyway, we're in the 30s. We're getting up there close to the 40s. This program that was set up by J. Edgar Hoover, that was set up by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that's where all capital letters come from, such as UAW, CIA, NSA, you name it, it all came out of the 30s, because they legalized all corporations in the 30s. That's what that was about. And they made it legal because they could change the rules and regulations, especially when they said no law can be brought into court prior to 19 attorneys, because he know he can't go back. Because when I tell you that 1795 and 1843, there were two statutes of law, statutes that were passed that can free everybody from debt. Everybody from debt. And that's the one that says that it mimics the Constitution because you have a right to face your accuser. And there is a Supreme Court ruling of 1795 that put it on the books. And they came back in 1843, and when they called it the Clearfield Doctrine. And all of those laws says that you have a right to face your accuser. And the Fourth Amendment, Article 4 of the Constitution talks about you have a right to face your accuser. And no one out there has ever faced their accuser unless they damage someone's property or kill someone. All the rest is malarkey. And the malarkey is what put everybody on the poor farm, because you're getting garnishment. All garnishments are illegal.
So
I'll say it again.
Okay.
All garnishments are illegal. Excuse me. All garnishments are unlawful. But by the color of law, go ahead.
So when an individual deals with the court system, do they go in there dealing with law, or they go in there dealing with legal?
Well, if you're going to defend yourself, you're going to try and use lawful approach. But they're going to shut you down quickly. And I'll say this. If you're going to use a lawful approach, this is very important. I think I touched on this one time. You must send prior 7 days before your court date. You must send what they call an special appearance. And you're going to send it to the court with your court case number on your appearance, special appearance. In that special appearance, you're going to state your status. All people out there, probably 95% of all the listeners today, have no idea what status means, or they have never stated their status when they go to court. So the judge immediately accepts you as a slave because he sent for you in all caps, and you're standing there looking at him. So he says you are an idiot and you need help. So where's your attorney? You get that?
Oh, yeah.
It's bad. But if you send in that special appearance, you're going to put all that in there. I don't want an attorney, number one. I am not a 14th Amendment citizen. You got to look this thing up. I am of age. I'm sound. I'm sane. What else you put in there? I am a Moor, but you always want to put your nationality in there. I'm an Olmec Moor, Wachita Moor, whatever you want to be. I'm a Chinaman, whatever you want to be. You got to put it in there. Let him know you have a nationality. Once you do that special appearance, it immediately nullifies the judge. He cannot say a word. Now, I'm going to ask you, Beth, why is it, now he's going to try and trick you, but why is it that he's not allowed to talk to you once you send in that special appearance?
Because you're telling him you're not the slave.
That's good. That's a good answer. I'll give you a C+. That's a good answer. The answer is, you know the difference between Casper, the friendly ghost, and Ron March, the man standing in front of you. And since I can't talk to Casper, and Casper can't talk to me, then you are Casper, and so you can't talk to me either, because you are a corporation, and I'm a natural person. So that nullifies this entire proceedings. So the first thing to come out of your mouth should be, I make a motion, or better yet, I do an affidavit. You can do a motion, affidavit, or a declaration. They prefer a motion, and I'll tell you why. But I put in my special appearance, I may even send an affidavit that I want the complete case dismissed for the grounds that he can't talk to me. Can't nobody in that courtroom talk to me.
Because you coming in the courtroom, you coming in the courtroom as not all caps.
Correct.
You coming, okay.
I'm coming in as an upper and lower cap, and I'm going to put L behind my name, L Bay or Ali, to differentiate me from that paper that the judge said to come. And then I'm going to say to the judge, if he wants to get in some dialogue, I'm going to say that I'm down here because you sit from my property, and I want to know what did the property do. And I'm not responsible for that property. And the property is the straw man. Because the judge can only talk to the straw man. He can't talk to you as a natural person. It's a science. But see, most people need the first rule is to stay out of courts. Now, it's difficult now because they beefed up city ordinances. That's why everybody's catching hell right now, because they beefed up city ordinances. And they're loading up the jails because they need money. So let me get back real quick, because I want to get into the 40s before we shut down.
Okay.
When they came out of the 30s, the whole New Deal, as it was called, was not generating any capital because there still was no money. So that's when they set up this thing. That's when you got to go read, and I'm going to give you the letters right now. Google HJR 192. And HJR 192 was in June the 5th, 1933, since the land did not belong to the government, Europeans, they took it upon themselves to collect all of the gold and silver. And that just came to me. I knew they did it, but I see why they did it now. Because if the land didn't belong to them, that meant that the gold and silver didn't belong to them either.
Right.
So they passed what they called a executive order that said all citizens of the United States of America turn in your gold and silver. Well, no blackie was a citizen of the United States of America, but the rich one, and to name one, was Madam Walker. She turned in, some people say, $600,000 or $600 million in gold she turned in. And they gave her a receipt and told her she could use this receipt to continue her business.
Wow.
Now, yeah, baby. Now, if you go to Title 31, and I'm not sure, I don't have my paperwork with me, but Title 31 deals with negotiable instruments. And you're going to see where there's approximately 13 negotiable instruments. Since there was no money, keep in mind, they promoted fiat money. So then they used that they had $20 gold pieces, they had $5 gold pieces. I never seen them, but they were, if you wanted to go buy a car or a horse, you couldn't carry all that gold in your pocket. So they came up with, let's use paper, and the bank will give you a receipt for the paper. See, they came out of that Federal Reserve doing this. You take your gold and put it in the bank will give you a receipt or a certificate. You can draw down on that certificate in whatever you want to do. So you don't have to carry that gold around in your pocket. So then they came up with the greenback, and they started issuing greenbacks, which was play money, going back to Monopoly, and people began to enjoy the play money because it wasn't heavy and was more convenient. Well, the crooks, looking at this, they said, well, damn, none of them know about the bank. They were just bringing money to the bank. They wouldn't come back because once the bank gave them the greenbacks, they said, well, hell with it. They go spend the greenbacks, and then they were happy. So they said then, well, then, if we have, for example, listen to this carefully. I'm giving you an example. If they have a bank and the bank has $600,000 in gold, $600,000 in gold, and they passed out all the greenbacks to back up that $600,000 in gold, why not print $800,000 of greenbacks? Who's going to know the difference?
Right.
So they started doing that, and today they in big trouble. But England set it up. England was the sponsor of this because England wanted to be paid for all the wars. So now, ever since, well, Abraham Lincoln started it with the Executive Order 100. That's when he set up the Liber Code. We already talked about that. It came under an executive order. Now, when they came out of 1933, they made a decision that every president from 1933 would always declare war, is what England wanted, so that you would be in debt. And you said it earlier, that's why they had the war on drugs, the war on poverty, the war on roads. Every president had a war on something.
Right.
People started getting hip after Ronald Reagan, so now they really had to come up with something physical, and that's when them Bushes came up with a 9/11. That was really a monster because that really paid off in big money. Nobody knows what it costs to do all that shit. And as soon as the government says we're going to pay, all it did was created more debt. And by creating debt, that meant they had to print more money. And to print more money, that meant they was paying off England. They still paying for the war of 1776 because there's been no money to pay them off. Then you had the Civil War. All those wars were set up by England and their cronies over here, the Stoolies, in order to create debt. So now, in the 30s, they came out of the 30s, and they had what they called negotiable instruments, because a senator by the name of, I've seen it 100 times, there's a senator who filed charges against Roosevelt and all of them crooks that were supporting Roosevelt. He filed federal law for treason, extortion, fraud. He dropped a bomb on them. I don't think they didn't kill him, but he had filed it. And it's still in place today. But they killed him before the trial came up, so now they just put the case on hold. How did they get out of it? They set up a process that everything that they have done to us was done by trickery. Now, this is important. Everybody out there, no matter what your condition, may it be $10 million in debt, may it be homeless, may it be whatever, you asked for it. You signed something to be in that position. Now, you were tricked. You were tricked. But they said it wasn't their fault because ignorance of the law is no excuse. It ain't my fault. You're an idiot. So they used the Jews to prove that it works. They used the Jews to prove, because Roosevelt was a Jew. Roosevelt was his name. They used the Jews to prove that their New Deal works, because you've never seen a poor Jew. The Jew is really living the life of the indigenous people of the United States.
Yeah.
But they ain't going to tell you. and you are so ignorant and out to lunch, you ain't even going to look at it like that. Because if I ask you, and I'm talking to everybody, if I ask y'all who or what is a bar mitzvah, you're going to start talking some religious crap. And I'm going to say, Lord, help that child. It ain't got nothing to do with that. What I'm telling you right now is a bar mitzvah. What I've told you ever since I've been talking to you is bar mitzvah. And once you graduate to a certain level, you'll realize that what they're doing, you've never seen a poor Jew. You don't even see a Jew with money. He don't even bring money out of his pocket. But you will see a Jew with a pencil. Why? Because all he does is sign his name. Your signature is money. Your signature is money. And everybody listening has used that signature to get what they want. If you don't sign, you don't get it. You dig it?
Yeah.
Now, here we go. We're going into the 40s, and now they got a major problem because England said they wanted the European to be the power of the earth since they were going into what they call the Industrial Revolution or the Industrial Era. So England and France and Europe got in a battle with Russia. United States was told to stay out of it, but since Europeans were getting their butt kicked, they had to tell the United States, you got to do something about it. And then when they found out that the Bush family, Prescott Bush, and I can't call them all off, but I know Prescott was part of it, and they had to pay him off to stop selling arms to Germany. They always supported Germany. The Bush family, the Ford family, the Mellon family, all of them supported Germany. You know, people don't know that.
Yeah.
So what happened was they told the United States, you got to send some troops because we getting our ass kicked over here. Especially when they started shooting those missiles. They came out with the missile, and they were shooting, once they took France, they were shooting missiles over to England. And England told the United States, y'all got to do something. Well, the United States said, if we get involved, since Japan is not involved, and they are people of color, they will be the industrial giant of the earth because we fighting each other. I bet y'all never looked at it like that. No. So they said, well, we got to figure out a way to get in the war with with Japan, kick Japan's ass, and then get over there and go to Europe. So somebody came up with the idea that we'll set up a trap and let Japan bomb Pearl Harbor. Nobody knows why Japan would bomb Pearl Harbor. Out of the clear blue sky, Japan's going to come and bomb Pearl Harbor. No, didn't happen like that. Since Japan is an island and everything they needed had to come from someone, Japan was doing to Far East what the United States and England was doing to the Near East where we are today. And that was, they were kicking China's ass, they was kicking Malaysia. Anytime they needed something, they go beat them up and take it. Because they was on a rock. Japan is a rock. They can't grow nothing in Japan. So what the United States said, we'll put up an embargo around Japan and won't let none of the ships come out. And nobody will know what we're doing because we're going to stay out here in international waters. But we're going to shoot or board any ship that comes out. So now they got them in a position where they're going to starve them to death, strangle them to death. So they said, we'll open up a route to Hawaii. And if they take the bait, we got them. Now, if you look at any of those movies like Tora, I can't name them all, those war movies that dealt with Japan, you'll see that Japan's only salvation of victory was to go through the trap and try to get to Hawaii and destroy Pearl Harbor because that's where all the ships come from. United States knew it. But since the American people had no idea what was going on, they let they put the ships in there all bottled up in Pearl Harbor and sit back and waited till they came and flew them planes in there through Coley Pass, because I've been there, I know what I'm talking about. They flew through Coley Pass, and they bombed the Pearl Harbor, and that's when the United States said, them little slant-eyed, yellow pickaninnies, we ain't going to take it. And all American people went crazy. Kill them! Kill them! And they set up them concentration camps. And all the Japanese that was in the United States, they threw them in concentration camps. Now, United States, the only thing they had to do now was wait, make it look like they had war, and then take those two big old bombs, and they bombed Nagasaki and Yokohama. And once they did that, they moved the troops and went into Europe to fight. The damnest thing you ever want to see, that you ever want to read. And they don't want none of that info to come out. I heard a late-night interview with McNamara, who was the Secretary of Army at the time, and he brought out all this information. It was all a game in order to destroy Japan quick, so that they would not be the industrial giants of the earth. And once the United States got involved, they started kicking Germany's butt. And then the United States became the power that it is today. And their job was to be the police of the earth for the Pope and for England. And that's what they've been doing. And every president has to sign up for a war so that they can create a debt, so that they can pay in fiat money, so that we will stay poor. And that means everything we get, we use collateral. Everything we own is collateral. And that's why Detroit right now is trying to sell water to sell the whole company to Europe, because that's one of the payoffs that they're going to do to make payments for the money that they owe England. Y'all need to look at this from a bigger scale than that little neighborhood type stuff.
Right. Now, we have like about 10 minutes left, and if anybody would like to ask Ron March a question or have a comment, you can call 347-215-8041. That's 347-215-8041, and push the number 1, and we can hear you. We have a call from 443-897. 443? Oh, they just dropped. Okay, call back 443.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All right. Where are we at? Any questions in the chat room?
And someone said in the chat room that they also ran the Moors out of Germany, too.
Oh, well, yes. Yes. And see, I was surprised when I was told that the Ottoman Empire, which everybody feared in Europe, was black. And see, I knew the Turks because I met some Turks when I was in the military, and they loved black people. I couldn't speak the language, and they didn't speak it because they were on some type of program with the American government. But all of them had mustaches, which white Europeans don't have, and they had dark eyes. So when whoever said that, they're totally correct, and it would be best. See, all Moors are not black like me, put it that way. A Moor is a nation of people of color, and there are some white Moors. Believe it or not, there are white Moors. And so, this race thing can only work in the United States because most of the people of color that come to the United States, they're told to stay away from the slaves, and that's us. Africans hate us when they come here because we act so crazy, and they can't figure out why we don't set ourselves free. And we talking that Christian mess, and they say, well, how can you put him before eating and stuff like that? They look at us as being way out there. Even the Arab, when I went to the Middle East, they treated me like King Ron, I'm telling you. And my wife as Queen Ron, or Queen BJ. They treat us good. And they know it. They know who we are. The earth knows who we are. But due to our Negroism, most of us, when we go abroad, we start acting like a nigger. And as a result, you get shunned. And once that starts, that's a downhill process all the way.
Right. We have a caller from area code 334-449. Area code 334.
There he is.
Hello, sister. How you doing?
Great.
I had a question. Yeah, I had a question for Mr. March.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to know if you think, well, it's indicative, it's obvious that, they'll label us as, conspiracy theorists and all that type of stuff, but was there a big conspiracy to cover up the legacy of the legitimacy of the true prophet, which is the Honorable Noble Drew Ali? And do you have anything on record or any knowledge of him showing up at that Pan American conference as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali as his spiritual name?
Everything you said is positive and true. Is yes. Now, I'll do this for you. Do you have my email address?
I've been trying to pull up your shows on the internet, but it's kind of, I don't know how to navigate it.
All right.
I would like a rundown on.
All right. Let's start with my email address. Ron March Show, SHOW, all one word, yahoo.com. You got it?
Right.
When you go for my show, just Google Ron March Show. Nothing else. Google Ron March Show. And when the homepage opens up, my name is at the top. Bam, tap it, and you go straight to my site.
So that'd be ronmarch@yahoo.com, sir?
No, Ron March Show @yahoo.com.
Okay.
And I got all kind of information that what you just asked, I'll blast you. You be begging me to stop. So send me the email, and I know who you are, and just put in there, give me something on Noble Drew Ali, and I'll knock you out, knock your socks off, okay?
Okay, I've been looking for something because I understand that the author of his book, The Exhuming of the Nation, Mr. Elihu Pleasant Bay,
yes,
I believe has a lawsuit against Amazon because they were reprinting his books behind his back, so he's supposed to be suing them for millions of dollars. But I've been trying to scrounge up everything I can on, on the profit.
Okay.
And everything.
Have you ever been to capital R, capital V Publications? Have you ever been there?
No, I got a lot of information from RV Bay Publications.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. What did I say? RV Publications. That's all I said.
It's rvbaypublications.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in the process of studying reclaiming my nationality or birthright as a Moorish American.
Okay. All right. Well, you're on the right path. And if you email me, I'll give you some. I got an article, part 1 and part 2, of the bankruptcy of the United States by the Moors. Exactly what I'm talking about today in regard to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It would knock you sideways. It's very informative. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, the God and the Goddess there, Miss Beverly, for doing what you're doing. Keep up the work. Very divine and national.
All right. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Ron.
So now, 1945, they dropped that bomb.
Ron,
yes.
You want to take another call?
Yes.
Okay. Area code 567-201.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, young man.
My quick question is, what's the difference between the Moabite and the Washington?
Two different nations. When you talk about so-called, and listen carefully, so-called Indians, you got the Cherokee and Choctaw and all that. They all came from the noble tribes of the Moors, which were El Bey, Ali, and Al. 5 noble tribes or nations of the Moors. And as you study the so-called Indian, you'll find that there were a multitude of tribes. A multitude of tribes. And when you pick out a nation such as, let's just say, Cherokee, that was one of the divine noble tribes that they took. The Bay comes from the Cherokee. Now, when you take that, there were hundreds of tribes under the Cherokee nation. Now, you got what they call the Umassey Moors, you got the Ouachita Moors, you got the Moabites Moors, and you got the Olmec. They all come from the Olmec. That's something that you can start with, O-L-M-E-C, Olmec. They were here thousands of years before the Europeans. And all of the Moors and all of the, not only Moors, all of these so-called Indians came from the Moors. The Europeans, in order for him to do the dirt that he did and be able to look you in the face, he had to lie and come up with a creature that he murdered and slaughtered that wouldn't offend you, and he used the word Indian. That was a convenient word that was put in his story after they signed the treaties. They didn't sign the treaties by calling them Indians. They never would have signed one. Ain't no damn Indian. If I'm not a Cherokee or Apache or whatever I am, why would I want to be called an Indian? But see, we don't look at it like that. We think when they look at history that it's something that really happened, but it's truthfully his story. That damn lying dog made all that up.
Okay.
You dig it? So
yeah, I do.
You need to start with the Olmec and then come forward from the Olmec, and you can even go to the Dogons. They were part of the Olmec. Dogons are over in Mali today. And everything got split up after the cataclysmic earthquakes. When everything was solid, one mass, called the Pangea, and once it started cracking with the earthquakes and creating Atlantic and the Pacific and all these different oceans, that's when things begin to change and split up. But I got some information now that the Ouachita was one of the tribes, one of the huge tribes, that had plenty of land and a whole lot of people were under the Moorish nation. And I'm not sure if the Moors were here first, were labeled first, or the Ouachita were labeled, or the Umassey. I don't know. I haven't delved that deep yet. But I do know that all of them come from the Olmec.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Thank you, Carla.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
And someone is saying that WWII was from the Cherokee Nation.
Yes, he sure was. Now, and they got to understand that the Cherokee Nation was a multitude of tribes. It ain't no one tribe of Cherokee. It was a whole lot of people. And see, when I talk about a nation, I'm talking about a family. My name is Ron March. If I was living back then with the knowledge that I have and had, I would start my nation, because Granny had the book. Mm-hmm. And Granny was the giver of law, and I was the protector of law. So my family, my whole family tree would be a nation. And I could deal with other nations on a national level. That's why there was so much unity. That's why the Peckerwood had to come up with treaties, because he couldn't defeat us. We've never been defeated. Mm-hmm. When they talk about the Iroquois Confederation, they talk about a whole lot of black people. And they all got names. They give you 5. When you look up Iroquois Confederation, they give you 7. I think they give you 7 tribes. And each one of them tribes had a confederation. A confederation is another word for a contract or a constitution or a treaty among the tribes. They don't tell you this. See, when you start broadening your perspective, then you can see how that Peckerwood just lies. And he had to lie in order to keep you quiet, but at the same time he had to set up treaties in order to defeat us, because he was a master with the pen. I'm reading treaties now that said that when they signed with those nations, they would put in the treaties that not only are we going to be at peace, you and me, like, let's say, Wachita and the Europeans be at peace, they would add crazy stuff like, and you can't fight the Navajo no more because we all are treaties together, that type of madness. And they we kind of fell for it, because and then they would come back and say, if you did fight, you had to give up your land and move to another place, and then we could sell the land and get it for ourselves. That's how they was tricking them in the beginning to get the land away from them, because they would create a war. It'd be easy for a Blackwood, and they show you in some of the movies, put on the Navajo clothes and go kill some Wachita warriors. And then the Wachita nation will attack the Navajo nation, and then the Blackwood will come in with troops and say, okay, well, since y'all fighting and we under the peace treaty, y'all got to move to another land. Give up this land.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the major tricks that they used to put on us.
So someone is saying we did have the Articles of Confederation 10-14-1774.
Yes, but that was only one that they tell you about. I got one I'm reading now with tell them, here's one I'm reading now. It's called the Treaty of Fort Holmes, Holmes. The Treaty of Fort Holmes. And that's the one with the Wachita nation.
The Treaty of what holds?
Fort.
Treaty
of Fort, F-O-R-T, Holmes, H-O-L-M-E-S.
Holmes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just
we
got
have
some
go ahead.
Go ahead. I just got some books in from. Oh, okay. Go ahead and take it.
Okay. Area code 443-897.
Hey, what's going on, family? Hey, how you doing, Mr. Ron March? This is
I'm
brother.
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. I forgot to email you. About my questions on Saturday on the private talking or whatever. The question I had for you is, you were talking about the special appearance when you get a notice to give to the court, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said you use your tribal name when you come in there. But if you use your tribal name, won't that put you in the court system? Won't they just put you under your straw man, under your tribal name?
How can that be? Your name, my name is Ron March under the system, all capital letters. If I send a special appearance, I'm going to spell Ron March upper and lower caps, and I'm going to put L Bay on the back of it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so with that same process,
me a natural man or natural
person. I understand that. Would that same process be used to file the UCC1 form?
No,
or still do it the same way?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
If you're talking UCC1, you gotta put your straw man in, because you're going to separate yourself. So the straw man is the debtor, and the natural person would be the
beneficiary,
secure party. And where it says in the debtor, you can put Mr., and where it says a suffix, or however that word is, you're going to put L, Bay, or L for that secure party.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All righty.
Thank you. Well, Ron, we 5 minutes after. Now, someone is saying that you must file a UCC2 first to do a lien search.
No.
Or UCC 11.
The corporation file liens.
11. Huh?
Yep. Search is 11. And tell the Europeans corporations file 11s, thousands of them a day, checking on their client, on their customers. They don't file on UCC1 because they're in the system. They're using UCC1 to get it.
They're saying you must file a UCC 11 first to do a lien search.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I'm also saying to give them some broader knowledge, and that is all corporations, such as I'll just throw some at you, a dealership. They sell X number of cars a day. They put a lien search on everybody that they sell a car to find out if you can pay for the car and how your credit is and all kind of stuff like that. Right. And if there's any liens on you. They do it. When I was going up to Michigan, up to Lansing to file my UCC1, I saw Peckerwoods coming in with go-karts, little bitty carts of liens. And one day I got one in the corner and said, "What you bringing all that stuff?" They said that the credit bureau runs liens and checks, searches all of everybody to find out what you're doing, how much money you got. I can see where the CIA, IRS, everybody do that. They have to do 11, a UCC 11. Mm-hmm. And they're not sovereign. They're crooks. So you don't have to be a UCC 1 to do an 11. Tell that person they can go online right now. Go to SOS, whatever state they're in. Secretary of State, SOS. And when you get there, look up, keep looking, and you'll see UCC. Tap it. When you go to UCC, tap UCC 11. And they're going to ask you, give them a name. And they probably won't even charge you for $5 or $3 to do a search.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Well, Ron, as always, we are enjoying this information that you've given us. It is well needed. A lot of people is really learning. You and open up a lot of information here. Now, wait a minute, before we leave, someone is saying that use UCC 3 to load birth certificates and Social Security as security instrument. Yes, I found assets at Secretary of State website. Okay.
Well, let me just say, I'm hearing more and more about this, putting a lien on your birth certificate. I do not, at this time, have information on that. But I'm getting so many questions about it, I got to do research and find out.
Okay.
Right?
All right,
I got to go.
Well, thank you, and we really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
All right. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
You know, we need to talk about United Nations. I was pushing, trying to get to that. We at 1945, but I'll talk to you off the air in a couple of days and see if we want to deal with that, because we need to know more about that United Nations and how it came about, and Thurgood Marshall, what role did he play and not play, that type of thing.
Okay. We can start off with that, and so we'll talk about it.
All right, good enough.
Thank you, Ron.
Appreciate you, sister. Peace.
Okay. Peace and love. All right, thanks for listening, and we shall return next Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace and much, much love.